The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Hi everybody, I'm Farron Cousins, sitting in for David Pakman, and this is the David Pakman Show bonus show. Last Monday, a new report came out from Media Matters. I love it when they have their new reports. And it showed that Fox News, even on their allegedly just news programs, has still lied to the public every single day so far this year. Now, I know what everybody's thinking, like, we know that. We know it's Fox News. They lie. But believe it or not, there's actually broader implications to... I'm sorry. Stop. I'm so sorry. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the David Pakman Show bonus show. I am Farron Cousins from Ring of Fire, sitting in for David Pakman today. Last week, a new report came out from Media Matters that showed that Fox News is lying every single day. In fact, they've actually lied every single day this year. Oh, that itself obviously is nothing new, but this report wasn't just looking at people like Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson or Laura Ingraham or Maria Bartiromo. No. This study was actually looking at the alleged news programs on Fox News. You know, your Wallaces, your Smiths, those folks who are not opinion-based at all. They are just hard news, just the facts, ma'am. Well, according to this report from Media Matters, those shows are also lying every single day so far this year. 2019, they have not gone a single day without lying to their audiences. And I know a lot of people watching this, listening to this, probably thinking, we know that. We know that Fox News lies every day. Why are you wasting our time talking about this? Well, I'm wasting your time talking about this because I'm not wasting your time. And it's worth pointing out because Fox News, for months now, ever since they're, really got hammered by these advertiser boycotts, have been using these news shows to sell the ads. That's why this story matters. Now, if you have read anything in the last few weeks, there have been lots of stories about Fox News and their internal civil war that's taking place. It's actually several months these stories have been out. You have the hard news division that's mad at management because the on-air personalities, the opinion hosts, are making the entire network look bad. And these hard news people, the real journalists, are angry that their hard news isn't being talked about. Well, it turns out even those hard news folks are still lying to us. Just maybe not as much or as blatantly as the Hannitys and Carlsons of the network. But they're still lying. Then you have management that is upset with the opinion hosts as well because their inflammatory statements and sometimes outright white supremacism, in the case of Tucker Carlson, is preventing them from making a lot of money off these shows. They're still slightly profitable, but those numbers are going down, and eventually this network's going to have to make a choice. But in the meantime, what they're trying to do is use these other news programs that are not opinion-based to sell those to advertisers and say, listen, I know you may not like Tucker Carlson, but I've got this great other show over here by Shep Smith. This is just news. He's not afraid to go after the president when the president does something wrong. He just tells the truth. He's a straight shooter telling it like it is every day. How about you throw a few million to us? We'll put your ads on that show. It doesn't work like that. And yeah, Shep Smith has moments of clarity. Wonderful, viral moments where he is not afraid to call out this administration, say that they're lying, or even say that they committed crimes. And then he goes back to lying. Shep Smith is not 100%. He absolutely lies, and that's what this Media Matters report is telling us. There are no honest brokers on Fox News. There's just some who lie a little and those who lie a lot. That's the dichotomy. As the Media Matters, president pointed out, they're all cogs in this Fox News propaganda machine. We have to stop pretending like there really is an internal struggle taking place. The only struggle taking place on the inside is the management, Lachlan Murdoch, trying to figure out where to sell the ads because nobody wants to be on the horrible shows, but they seem to be okay being on those mediocre shows like Shepard Smith. Fox News is in the pocket of the Republican Party, and the only way they can spread Republican talking points is to lie, because that's what Republican talking points are. If they had the truth on their side, they wouldn't all have to parrot the same thing over and over and over again every single day, but they do, because their talking points are just that god-awful and dishonest. And speaking of dishonest, Ben Carson didn't have such a good week last week. I don't know if you remember this. I hope you do. This was a fun story when it broke. Early last year in 2018, it was revealed that Ben Carson spent a lot of money, wanted to spend more money, redecorating his office at Housing and Urban Development. And Ben Carson wanted to buy a $32,000 dining set because, you know, that's what housing programs for the poor really need, is the guy running those programs to have the most awesome dining set imaginable in his office. Well, after more than a year of investigations, the GAO, Government Accountability Office, finally came out late last week and said, you know what? Ben Carson broke the law. Because the law says that you can only spend $5,000 if you're one of these department heads revamping your office. If you're going to spend more than that, Congress has to approve it. Otherwise, that's an illegal expenditure. Well, Ben Carson never bothered to get approval for his $32,000 dining set or his $8,000 dishwasher. Let me reiterate that. Ben Carson has an $8,000 dishwasher in his office at HUD. I am a married man, I have children, and I am a homeowner. I go to Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware, all those places all the time. I have never, for the life of me, even during appliance shopping and looking online, seen an $8,000 dishwasher. Is he running a small restaurant out of the back of his HUD office? Because I don't know how you even find an $8,000 dishwasher unless you're TGI Fridays. But nonetheless, Ben Carson did it. He found it. It's installed. But he didn't get congressional approval, and so the GAO says Ben Carson, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, broke the law. So what are they going to do about it? Oh, they're going to put protocols in place to make sure it doesn't happen again. Protocols. No punishment. Some protocols, you know, because that's totally what happens to people who break the law. The GAO summary here was not wishy-washy on it. They said Ben Carson broke the law. Ben Carson's not going to get punished. But to me, that's not even the worst part of this story. It's not the $8,000 dishwasher. It's not that he almost spent the $32,000 on the dining set. It's what happened last year in congressional testimony where Ben Carson was in front of Congress and had to answer questions about his lavish spending. That, to me, is the real kicker. Because what that man did there was probably the worst thing of all. He blamed it all on his wife. I hope everybody remembers that. I remember it vividly. I was doing videos on it at the time because I was shocked. This man, Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson, Housing and Urban Development, threw his wife under the bus in congressional testimony in hopes of avoiding getting in trouble. They asked him about the $32,000 dining set. He said, oh, my wife picked that out. She wanted to do that and thought that would be a good idea. Dude, talk about not having any class. You knew you got busted on it, and whether or not she picked it out or said to do it is irrelevant. You're testifying before Congress because they may think you did something illegal. You own that, unless you want your wife to be the one going to jail or losing her job. What the hell, man? I mean, honestly, how awkward were things at the Carson household following that? I mean, did he come home that evening and his wife's just like, so I saw your testimony on C-SPAN. Anything you want to talk about? No, I can't imagine that anything has been pleasant at the Carson household since that testimony happened. But last week, yes, the GOA, in non-equivocal terms, said Ben Carson broke the law, and the most important thing is that they're vowing to do absolutely nothing to him in spite of the fact that he broke the law. Hey, just another day in Trump world, right? And finally, there was this article that came out on the New York Times op-ed this past weekend. Blew up on Twitter, everybody talking about it. New York Times getting letters to the editor of people actually supporting this article. But here's the headline. Dear Millennials, the feeling is mutual. New York Times op-ed by Bret Stephens. And what Mr. Stephens is doing in this op-ed, just to kind of paraphrase real quick, is he's talking about the fact that yes, recently that more than a year-old clip of Joe Biden came out saying he has no empathy for millennials. And Mr. Bret Stephens agrees. He doesn't like millennials. Not all millennials, just the bad ones, he says. And he goes on to tell us who the bad ones are. The bad millennials are the ones who go out there and essentially dox some of these really awful people that we have in society today. Specifically, he calls out the ones who were calling out college professors all over the country. Maybe they've written horrible things or supported really bad policy or opinions or people. And so students started calling them out on it. And that infuriates Bret Stephens. And this is what he says about the people who do that. He says, they allege an invisible harm in order to inflict an actual one. In place of an eye for an eye, we have professional destruction for emotional upset. Careers and reputations built over decades come to ruin, or nearly so, on account of a personal mistake or a disfavored opinion. Later on, he goes on to talk about the fact that Joe Biden is obviously not the favorite amongst millennials. And this is what he says there. He could make a virtue of the defect by emphasizing his distance from everything that defines the worst aspects of millennial culture, the coddled minds and censorious manner and inability to understand the way the world works. Right, these millennials don't understand how the world works. See, Mr. Stephens, here's the thing. These millennials understand exactly how the world works. And that's why they're angry. Because they understand that people like Joe Biden, people like a lot of the Republicans, quite a few Democrats, and pretty much just everybody in between, they know exactly how the world works. If you've got money, you can hire a lobbyist and you can get whatever you want out of this country. If you're a wealthy white guy, wealthy white boy in college, you can get away with rape. And that's perfectly fine. If you're a good athlete, regardless of color, you can get away with rape. If society or the powerful think you have value, you can do whatever you want. Whether it's for entertainment purposes, sporting events, or maybe just funneling money through their campaign. If they think you have value to them, you can get away with anything, and they will give you everything. That is how this country works. The Supreme Court told us that with Citizens United and McCutcheon versus FEC. They told us that this is how it works. So you can climb down off your high horse, Mr. Stephens, and act like millennials are dumb and, we just complain about everything. And, we're trying to destroy the careers of people who've said some horrible things. The truth is that we understand perfectly how the world works. And we understand that we're getting screwed over by it more so than your generation ever did. The cost of a college degree has increased by more than 4,000% in just the last couple decades. Drug prices continue to go up every other month. And the powerful elite in D.C. aren't doing anything about it. Some of them are. Let's give them credit. You've got plenty of Democrats out there trying to do something about it. But there's too many elderly white men over there who think that, these millennials are just whining too much. So let's not do anything to solve the problems that they're facing that, by the way, we actually created. That's all for today. I am Farron Cousins. I want to thank David for letting me sit in today. I will be back again tomorrow. And in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Farron Balanced, FarronBalanced. Farron Cousins from Ring of Fire in for David Pakman. I'll see you again tomorrow.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.